So welcome everyone to this CELUS webinar. Today we're gonna have this webinar here with me. I'm Alessandro. I'm a growth manager here in CELUS, and I'm calling here from our Munich headquarters, which unfortunately the weather is not that great, so we're still waiting for the spring to come. And with me here, there's Tobias and Luis. Please quickly introduce yourself.
Hi, thanks, Alessandro. Hey everyone, I'm Tobias. I'm one of the founders of CELUS. I started the company together with my two co-founders about 7 years ago. Really coming from the perspective of me designing electronics myself, being frustrated with spending a lot of time in data sheets and searching for components in very manual processes. And that really fueled the start behind CELUS. So really excited today to show you what's next, and we definitely have some cool updates to share today.
Super.
And
thanks, Tobias.
Sorry, Alessandro. I'm Luis. I'm a customer success here at CELUS. I basically work in making sure everybody understands our platform and is able to work with it, and it's actually successful. I'm an electronic engineer myself, and I really like this platform because it allows you fast creation, as Tobias said, that we can easily create our own schematics in a very fast way and search different options. So it's a great tool for fast starting my own projects, actually. And okay, that's it.
Super. Thanks a lot, Luis. So right now we're curious also to know where you are from. So we kick off this little icebreaker. So you can tell us a little bit more about yourself. Which is your background, and also which tools are you usually using for working in the engineering sphere. But in the meantime, right now, we are tackling a little bit the history of CELUS. So the agenda for today will be, we will talk about how CELUS made it so far. So we were the biggest step, let's say, that we had during our path, and how we landed here. And after that, we will jump in to our platform to see the main function, and then to the big unveil that we have planned for today. So our design assistant. So my next question is directly for Toby. So the history of CELUS, it's quite interesting, right? It's coming back from a couple of years ago, and it started in university, right?
Exactly. Back then, I was in a large electric car research project. We were building basically an off-road car, mostly focused for sub-Sahara Africa use cases. And it started out with us trying to build as little custom hardware as possible, and we're mostly focusing on buying off-the-shelf prototype hardware, and then focusing on developing software ourselves. Fast forward a couple of months, that didn't really work. So we did make a lot of different experiences. We were able to try out different battery setup, different setups, because usually car manufacturers don't focus on that market at all, and just everything, all old cars go to these regions. And that made us, basically we were forced to develop a lot of electronics to make that work. Which back then I was the closest to that, so that ended up on my desk as well, and started building a couple of boards, from a small battery management to light controllers to and we had a kind of a special battery shutdown procedure and different things that we had to build. And to be quite frank, for me it was a frustrating experience at times, where it was fascinating for me in the software side of things, that I can sit on a car, change parameters. We used a lot of code generators, a lot of very high-level environments. You hit compile, you flash it onto your ECO, and the freaking car drives differently the next moment. And every small adjustment in our electronics always took forever. We had to reuse a lot of components that we used in other projects, simply because we didn't have the time to do research for all of them. It took a lot of time and energy even to get to schematic, where for my personal preference, the real enjoyment of the job only really started. I never was excited about research. So for me, the excitement started in schematic, and then especially further down towards layout. And we really then got thinking of how can we build it in a way that you get to that part that matters most as fast as possible. How can we automate that beginning of the journey, capture what you're trying to build, and make recommendations? Basically, a bit of the feeling of having a experienced companion by your side that guides you to the solutions you should be starting with, like an experienced colleague in a way.
Okay, that's really, really interesting. And also, I remember that you faced in the beginning of the journey really some skepticism also, regarding the industry, let's say, and if this were possible, it would already exist. I remember this phrase that you told me a couple of days ago. Is it that right?
That definitely is true, and it depends on from which side. We had back then over university, it was fairly straightforward for us to reach out to the network and talk to a lot of different companies in the ecosystem. And when talking to the EDAs back then, it largely was, I would say, with the people we talked to, little interest for change, little interest for doing something new. And when talking to engineers and the actual engineering companies that are living through that, it was like you just said. It was a lot of if that will just never work. This sounds great and all, but this will never work, and this is just too hard to achieve. And frankly speaking, in the beginning, we simply flat out didn't believe them. A lot of young naivety and stubbornness. But we now, today, looking back at all of those years, they were right with a lot of pieces. It is freaking hard. But since we didn't know that when we started, we just kept on pushing, and there never was a point of giving up on it. Makes it even more exciting to see how far we got it with the launch early last year and the updates that came throughout the journey of basically going back to saying, well, guys, this actually does work. So that I have to say makes it even cooler.
That's really great. And after the rough beginning, let's say the idea and so on, we got the Series A, and what's the current status of the platform and what we have ahead of us?
So I would say, with all of that being said, with everything that we have already released, the best and the most is still to come. We've built for a long time. We're focusing on building that technology, getting to kind of proof of concepts, making it work. The first huge step for that was then early last year, where we launched the platform and actually get it out there in the world, get users to just sign up and use it without any hurdles to start with. And so if you look at the entire time of the company, the exciting times just have started. It is just the beginning, actually. Took us some time to get there, a lot of hurdles to jump over, but now there's just a lot to come from further improvements of the platform, for expanding our ecosystem, getting more different partners on board as well. So really, a lot to look forward to.
Nice. Lovely to hear. And so right now in our platform, we have more than 1,000 modular kubos, which are pre-validated design blocks. But for this, perhaps, we can go through Luis. Thanks a lot, Toby, by the way, for this overview on the story of CELUS. But Luis, let's dive into our platform, shall we? And please, I see also the chat is quite active. So we have people from Austria, from Finland, Italy even. So that's really great. Please ask the questions that you have there. But Luis, please, the floor is yours.
Yeah, sure. So we've been talking about Kubos and CELUS Design Platform, but I'm quite sure that some of you might not seen it or not fully understand what it means. So before even moving forward, I would like to just show you exactly what is CELUS Design Platform, what we do here. So I'll start my screen share just for a second. Okay. Sure. So I take it that you can all see my screen.
Yes.
Okay. If you cannot, please write in chat so that we can try to solve that problem. But so CELUS Design Platform is about starting building your system instead of, as Toby said, having to go through all the data sheets, searching for components, right? To that time-consuming, brain-consuming task of finding the best fitting component, and afterwards the actual circuit to work with that component. What we do in CELUS Design Platform is that you first start by simply designing a block diagram, like the one you see over here in the picture. So you have different functional blocks that you can simply drag and drop from the left to the right into the canvas. You create connections between those blocks. You can see here that you have, for example, a supply connected to the battery with the converter. So high-level functions connected with interfaces between them. And what CELUS Design Platform does is that it will use all of the information, all of the specifications and requirements on each of these blocks. It will also check for compatibility between supplies. And in the end, it will suggest you a solution for each block. What does this mean, the solutions? The solutions is what we call a kubo. And they're not just a component. As you can see over here, I'm going to right-click and click on Select Kubos. And you can see that these kubos, these solutions, are not just the component, but the actual circuit around the component. So basically, everything that you need to work with the basic features of that component. In this case of a microcontroller, you can see that it already has the necessary decoupling capacitors, some pull-ups where they needed, a crystal, a programming connector. So the basic things that you typically need to start working with that component. And it won't only suggest you one component, it will actually suggest a lot of different components depending on your preferences. For example, on my settings, I had said that I wanted a specific manufacturer. That's why it's telling me that these solutions are from that specific manufacturer. And all you have to do then is evaluate the different solutions, select the solutions that you want to use, and keep doing that to all of the blocks that you have over here. In the end, once you have gone through all of the blocks and chose the solution that you actually want to use, you can simply go to Block View, generate the bill of materials that you can use to buy these components. But most importantly, you can actually go to Output Files, where you can select your preferred CAD tool. And this is the nice part that will help you fast forward your design, is that you can actually select your CAD tool, download it, and I'm going to fast forward this process by showing immediately the output. So you'll get a KiCad project with not only the components that you have selected that we have seen before, right? But also footprints and a preliminary layout that you can immediately start working with. So you can simply go from that block diagram, check different solutions, evaluate. So do the search in a more intuitive, less time-consuming, and also less effort-intensive, faster and easier way of finding components, and then easily exporting them into your preferred CAD tool. Right now, we are using KiCad, of course, because it's a free tool, but you could also choose from different other tools that we also support. We support more than ones that you see on the screen, actually. But the idea is that, as I said, you go from this design canvas with a high-level architecture to an actual easy output. And now I think I'm going to go straight to, do you guys have any questions, by the way, about this Kubo thing? If you have them, just share it on the keyway or on the chat, and we'll be gladly, I'll be glad to answer them. But if no questions are there, Alessandro, please tell me if you see any questions. If no questions are there.
Yes. So we have a question actually from Roy that he tried the tool, and they were missing a lot of basic components. So now he's wondering if there are more Kubos on it. So we did quite a journey from the launch last year of the platform. So perhaps we can go deeper a little bit on the Kubos, how many there are, and so on.
So quite frankly, we have been working very hard in increasing the number of Kubos that we have on the platform. So we did increase our component availability. We keep working on that. We keep making deals with manufacturers to include their content in our platform. So we keep working on that. So if you haven't used it in a while, check again. You might find what you want over here. But yeah, the goal on our platform is that you could find any Kubo, and we are working really hard to get there. But if you feel like you have some content that you actually want or would like to see on the platform, please don't refrain to suggest it to us, and we might bring it to the platform as fast as we can.
Yeah, we work a lot together with either the manufacturers, the IC houses, or with actual customer and user requests. So if you're missing some specific content on our platform, some specific solutions that you were looking for, absolutely do let us know.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you can use our forum channels. You can ping us directly in the chat. We'll use that as well as feedback. Or you can just email any of us, and you'll probably find some contacts in the end of this meeting, and we will be gladly. As I said, I'm a customer success engineer. That is my role, to actually make you successful. And if that means making a Google or a lot of them for you to see on the platform, the best.
Yes, absolutely, Luis. Let me just add one small thing. So we have a roadmap for power requirements. So we would love also to have more feedback from the user, and we're constantly looking for feedback from user. As Toby also said, to improve our platform. So we're constantly on it, and we're really keen and open to feedback to improve overall the quantity of Kubos, also the quality, and also our features and what's ahead of us in the growth of the product. But right now, speaking about feedback, one very important thing that we listen to our users and we wanted to implement is the big feature that we're launching today. So perhaps, Luis, you want to start to introduce our design assistant.
Exactly. So why are you here today? Because as most of you said, you have tried the platform before. So what is actually the big news? Well, the big news is that you still have to make this block diagram, right? And sometimes you don't have a block diagram, or already have some kind of sketch somewhere, or you simply want to describe your block diagram. You don't want to go through all this list, right? Find the actual functional block that you need. So our new feature is called the Design Assistant, and it is what is going to help you to generate this block diagram faster, not only faster, but also actually help you with the learning curve that you might face using our platform. So to show you better, I'm going to start with a blank project that I have already created here. So it's the same design platform, but in a blank canvas. I'm going to go into Design Assistant, which is on the top left corner of the screen, right next to blocks, right? You see here the block list, but if you click Design Assistant, you'll see a prompt. And on this prompt, what you can do is you can write whatever you want, every prompt that describes the system that you want to achieve. And what the system will do is it will try to create on the canvas what you want. So in this case, for the sake of the argument, I'm going to ask it for create me a smart thermostat or temperature sensor, right? Or room temperature sensor. Right. So, and all you have to do is you write a very simple prompt. You click generate on the bottom right corner, and what will happen is that our platform will try to, as you can see here, it will try to create a block diagram. In this case, it's a very simple block diagram. You can see here, it added a battery, a converter to convert the energy from the battery to an actual workable supply. You have a microcontroller, your temperature sensor, because we are actually building a temperature sensor, and it even included a LED because you might want to indicate something. Of course, you don't need to stop over here. I'm going, for example, I want to power this or to connect with this temperature sensor using some wireless capabilities. So I'm going to say add wireless module, for example. And again, as you see, it changed my design, and it simply adds a wireless communication module, which means that my smart temperature sensor now can actually communicate with the outside. And you can keep doing this. You can, for example, add a humidity sensor on the same I² sequence of the temperature. Right? And you can even have some typos in there. It will be resilient to those typos. And as you can see now, I have an extra humidity sensor that was just added, maybe a bit okay, he didn't fully understand. I'm going to delete that one because it's an extra one. But he did understood that I wanted both sensors connect to the same I2C, right? Over here. You can clean it up later. But that's basically the point where instead of having to go through all of these blocks, you can simply keep adding or actually asking a big prompt. In this case, I did it step by step, which we actually reckon, which sometimes it's better, just like in a normal chat assistant. But you can actually give any instructions that you want, and what the platform will do, it will digest your request and try to make it something that can work on our platform. Now you have to do in the end, once you have your blocks, once you have selected your things, you don't need to go full chat assistant. Of course, you can go back to the blocks and add some more things to what happened over here. But once you're happy, you can simply click on resolve. And the process that we saw before, where the combos or the solutions that we want to find happened, it's exactly the same process as before. So you'll see the solutions appearing. You select your different solutions. You will output those files, and you have your system ready to go. I still have some cool feature to show you later, but for now, I'm going to wait for some questions. But again, just to show you, as you can see here, everything as before. So you have the different kubos over here. You can come back. You can go to the normal process of generating a bomb and actually outputting the files. Is there any questions from the audience, Alessandro?
Yes, so we have some questions from the audience, but before, I wanted to stick to this project and ask you a very, very quick question. So there's also the way to compare the options that can help me decide in a different project.
Yes, exactly. And glad that you asked, because I was kind of forgetting it. And so this design assistant, it is not, or this creative design assistant is not the only part of the design assistant that will help you with your design. We also have, for example, here, you can see here, there's a big list of kubos, and you don't want to maybe open them and check them all and go through all of the details of what makes this kubo better than that kubo and all that. So what we have over here is this assistant, another part of the assistant, which is not just the one that generates the block diagram, but something that you can actually use to ask questions about these kubos and to make comparisons. For example, in this case, since this is a temperature sensor, I want it a small temperature sensor, so I can actually ask it which one of these kubos has smallest footprint. And what we will do is not only it will go to the information of the kubos, but actually to the information of the components. Okay, and as you can see, in this case, it didn't found, probably because on these microcontrollers, we don't have that information. Or you can actually try to change to component expert. Maybe this will help us, because different tools will have different access to different parts. So maybe a component expert, again, didn't work. So these things have a way of not working when we want them. But still, the idea is that you can open this, ask questions, assuming that the information is there, which in this case apparently it wasn't. The expert that will try to find the information that you want. It will help you make your suggestion, help you make your decision. You can actually even ask him which will from if this component will fulfill your needs or not. And that can also help you in making your decisions. That is the basic way of working with Kubo, with our assistant, is to avoid making all the decisions by yourself, still making the decisions, but you have something that can help you in searching for those solutions.
Okay, Luis, this is really, really great. Thanks. So we have also some questions from our chat, from Vladimir specifically. So how the system check the power requirements?
Yeah, so the system will check the power requirements, because on each of these blocks or these kubos, for example, let me go to this switching converter. If you actually open this kubo, this solution, you will see that in each solution, you won't have just the information, the basic description and all that. You also have a bill of materials, which is normal. It's the bill of materials that you're going to use to generate your output. But most importantly, ports. And ports is what we use to create boundaries between qubits, right? So you'll see over here that this qubit, this voltage supply, will of course have one input, one output, and an enable pin. And you can see exactly that over here. And in each of these ports, you will see specifications like voltages, for example, or currents. And those specifications will actually be used on to select to create this list. So it will go through each qubit, check the specifications in each port, make sure that this link, for example, has a compatibility between the microcontrollers that are shown here are actually compatible with the switching converters that you have over there. How does it know if it's compatible? By checking, by validating some rules based on voltages and currents, and which means that it has some value of some level of validation to make sure that you don't choose something that is not compatible on the other side.
Mm-hmm. Okay, super. Thanks a lot, Luis, for going deeper into this. We have another couple of questions from the chat. So one from Andreas. Do you support also Zuken ADA system?
Not yet.
Right now?
Not yet.
Go ahead, Luis.
I'm sorry, go Thomas.
Right now we don't support Zuken yet. We support KiCad, Eagle, Fusion, the Alto Designer, and Siemens and Cadence solutions like PADS and ORCAD. Reach out to us about additional CAD tool support like Zuken. We have an entire team that is working on what we call the converter, on connecting to different EDA tools. Definitely let us know with what tools you would like to see, and we definitely have Zuken on our radar as well.
Super great. So we have a lot of questions flowing, which is great. So we have another one from Alden. Once the generated design is there, can the refinements be included manually? This is a really, really nice question. Luis, you want to jump in?
Yes, it is. And I was actually looking at it, planning to answer it. So what happens here is that once you output your file, so once you've selected the designs that you want in each block and you output your files, it is entirely up to you to do whatever you want with those files. So if I go to my KiCad, I now have these schematics in a block diagram. I can manually do whatever I want. So the project is it's mine now, basically. So all of these components, lines, this is basically a KiCad project. And if I want to change a component, if I want to change a connection, it's up to me. Now the design became mine and I can do whatever I want with it. So in a sense, yes, we support refinements manually by simply adding to you the CAD files that then you can do whatever you want with them. So it's up to you to make the design choices you want and to edit whatever you feel like you need to edit on the CAD files.
Mm-hmm. Okay, great. And the last couple of questions, then we will catch up with the other question later on to proceed with our showcase of the new feature. But we have one from Peter. Can create my own qubits, say from a vendor, supplier, app node / tech node?
It's a great question. So the quickest answer is no, not yet. Mm-hmm. We are not planning for the near future to enable users to share their own designs on our platform. For now, we are doing that because, as I said, we have agreements with manufacturers. We are using that to increase our content base on the platform. But for now, not. We don't want, we chose not to give users that power. That being said, it doesn't mean that in the future we cannot, right? So it's simply a matter of keeping a closed or a controlled content source for now. But as soon as we mature, I don't see why we shouldn't allow for that use case, at least to investigate if it's a possible use case or not.
Okay, great. And last question for now. Do you offer support for different functional safety performance levels from Anders?
for different functional performance levels. So I'm assuming with that question that you're talking about depending on the application that you use, automotive, medical, things like that, if I understood the question correctly.
Yes.
We
maybe Anders also can go. Sorry to interrupt you, Louis. Maybe Anders, if it's still online, can. It's correct. It's
correct.
Confirming live.
So right now we are working on that, on making sure that all of those compliances. So if it's automotive, if it's medical, if it complies with the certain standard or not, we do have that plan in the roadmap. I cannot say exactly when will that happen, but the plan is not right now, but exactly. So the ISO standards for either from component selection to footprint generation, all that, we know that it's important. We don't support those standards that you're talking about right now, but the plan is that in the near future, we would have actually the ability to choose the components or to make tailored solutions or suggestions that fulfill exactly those requirements. And that is actually the goal of the platform, to evolve into making all of the requirements, not just some, all of the requirements, especially in the industry requirements, to make them all available here on the platform so that we can actually suggest the best components regarding those very important parameters.
Okay, super. Okay, let's pause for now the question, and we will get back to them later on, because we have one more thing to show you today. Luis, I heard you're really good at drawing, so
yes,
perhaps you can show us the next cool feature that we have to showcase.
Exactly. So sometimes, I don't know if you guys are like me, but I'm not that much of a writer, right? So I don't like to write that much, especially if it's a descriptive writing where I need to actually describe everything that I want in my system. And so what we did to avoid that, or to overcome that, was that we created a image to canvas generator. So basically, imagine that you're in a coffee, or if you're just discussing with someone in a whiteboard what the system should look like, and you come up with something like this, right? A block diagram that you draw in a piece of paper, where you basically have the main parts of the system. But now you would need to go back to the platform and replicate it again, which can be time consuming or boring. Or you can even have this from a manufacturer, that you see a nice block diagram on a manufacturer's webpage and you want to replicate it in our platform without having to go step by step and adding all of that. So what you can do is, using a picture like this, or any picture that you find that can be used as a block diagram, you can come back to the Design Assistant, and next to the Generate button, you'll see this picture with the star on top. And if you click it, you'll basically be prompted to upload the picture, and I'm going to upload. This is the same picture that you saw on the other screen. I'm going to open it. And now, of course, you can describe a bit more if you want, but right now, for the sake of the argument, I will simply actually first let me do the following, because now I have this full with things that I don't want. So I'm going to simply delete them first, because I want it to generate the actual block diagram and not to put it on top of the one that I already have. So again, deleted everything. And now I'm going to simply click generated with the uploaded picture. And what the system will do, it will read that picture, and it will try to translate that picture into block diagrams and into a fully working block diagram to our platform. So as you can see here, so to recap what we had over here, we had the battery, a power supply, a temperature sensor, a microcontroller with a Wi-Fi module or Wi-Fi capability, and a motor controller. And if you go back to the canvas, what you see here is a microcontroller with a wireless communication module. Sorry about this. Wireless communication module, a DC motor controller, a temperature sensor, and a battery connected to a switching converter or to a battery connector. And again, as you saw before, we went from not text, it was actually a picture, but we came quite easily from a picture to an actual block diagram. And now you can simply go with the normal process of either keep adding some things. For example, I could say add a USB connector example. And the platform. So as you can see, you can interview the text and the image thing. I forgot to tell it to connect the USB connector to the controller unit. But yeah, basically you can use this to start with a picture and then start working. You start with the picture, which typically is the easiest way, at least for me, to generate the block diagram. I can easily input it to the platform and then start working from there. The rest of the process you already know is clicking resolve, checking the solutions, finding the best ones, and then going to the output files and simply generate your CAD tool ready files to start working. And I'll leave the work for you.
Okay, that's really, really cool. So let's see if we have any questions from the webinar chat, but regarding this specific function, and but we have some question left. Please, Toby.
While you look through the question, just one point to add that I encourage everyone to try out is you can just go in and throw a lot of stuff at it and see what happens. We had people reaching out to us that we had in the early demo process that uploaded not just an image of a block diagram, but for example, a PDF document with a spec of a project. And we translate that into the file. So really give it a try. It is quite fascinating how far that can go.
Yeah, exactly. So this file over here, as you can see, you are not bounded by just pictures. You can actually put everything you want, like if it's an actual chat. And I see a question on the chat, which is asking to see the BOM. So the BOM, the bill of materials, you can see it over here. You can go to the middle tab of the platform, and you can see the estimated prices, life cycles. Sorry, okay. The part numbers, the blocks where it fits, the descriptions. You can even go to the end and see the datasheet. So in case, for example, you want to know more about this, you can simply open a PDF and you see immediately quite fast the datasheet of the component without having to, again, go to a web page, search for this part number, finding it, getting the datasheet and actually reading it. So you can easily add every information that you want, not only regarding the component, but actually the life cycle of the component, the price of the component, by using simply this BOM view page. I don't know if this answered the audience question, but
super. Great. Thanks a lot, Luis. So let's go through some questions. We have one from Alfonso Martinez, and thanks, that takes to the next one. If it's free, how you monetizing it? So I think this is the right question for Toby.
Absolutely. And that is a great question. I totally understand where that is coming from. I think this will be, especially in the coming months, with more and more of our announcements coming out, very visible. The core of our platform is working with different manufacturers, either for a component manufacturer to show up on our platform, where we engage with them in, you can think of it like content partnerships, where they provide these Kubos and all of those solutions that go onto the platform. And with that, similar as investing into searchable content on a website and then show up more on Google. If you invest in content on our platform, you will statistically just show up more. So that is one part of our engagements. What we also do is we build internal platforms of basically internal fenced versions of our platform for manufacturers, for example, sales teams that use it to talk to their customers. Many different applications of that, where we built what we call co-brands that you will see live on different distributor manufacturer websites fairly soon. That is currently where our monetization lies, and we leave our platform open for as many engineers as possible.
Okay, super. Thanks a lot, Toby, for answering. Next question is from Roy. Are you planning to add something like LT Spice?
I can take that one. Yeah, Luis, go ahead.
It's up to you. But quite easily, it's we have planned it, and we know it's something that we can have. So, answering your question, if we are planning, yes, when it will come, and sure, I think that is my quick answer. I don't know if Toby, you have anything else to add to that?
No, I mean, I think that at the core that answers it. But it definitely is something that we talk a lot about because the potential is massive. Imagine that you can simulate straight out of our platform, and with that build kind of a within machine automation loop of iterating, exchanging, running through that simulation. That is incredibly powerful. So we definitely have that on our radar. So thanks a lot also for bringing that up.
Yeah.
If you want to work with us on giving us input so that we also develop it in the right direction, do reach out. We always try to not just sit in the dark corner and come up with ideas ourselves of what is the best to do, but actually do that with the people that we're building it for. So Roy, if you want to be a part of that process, definitely let us know and reach out. That would be great.
Absolutely. Thanks a lot for the question, Roy. We're always keen to listen our users, the idea how we can improve our product, and this is really, really essential for us. Next question from Alfonso again. So, would it be possible to have an internal version for manufacturer to cross-reference?
I'm not 100% sure if you're talking about internal versions of Kubos or the entire project. So, regarding answering generally, for now, you mean internal? If you're talking about having a platform as your internal tool, yes, there is a possibility. As Toby said, we can do that, and we already have some manufacturers working this with the CELUS Design platform as their own internal tool. If you're talking about versioning your projects or having internal versions of projects, these projects are your own and nobody else. So once you create your project, it's just yours. So you can version it all you want. And regarding the Kubos, if you're talking about the Kubos, I'm trying to answer the three possible questions that your question might be. Regarding Kubos, as I said before, right now we don't support users creating their own Kubos, but in the future we might, but for now, no. So I don't know if any of these three fall into the question that you were asking, but if not, please ask again.
If you have a bigger setup within your company where you have a lot of people working on a project and you see that as an internal use case with your own Kubo library on separate part of that, definitely do reach out. That is something we're very open to discuss and have done that before.
Yes, and also about discussing, we have also a Slack channel for our community that we will share also in the chat at the end of this webinar. So there's a chance to gather all the feedback, the features, ideas, and have a direct, let's say, privileged channel to speak with our user to gather their feedback, which again, it's super essential for us in our growth. But right now to the next question from Richard. So is AMI taken into account when generating the design?
So I can take that one. So EMI, electromagnetic interference, it is something that is very important, of course. But as you can see on our platform, we simply generate schematics. So without simulation, without the actual layout, right? Because the layout is here, but it's not a finalized layout. You still need to do the routing and finish the rest of the board. Without that, it's kind of complicated to be talking about EMI. We can, of course, in the future be aware of some, or add to the Kubo some characterization to make sure that if it's less or more EMC, EMI compatible. However, for now, the quick answer is no, but also because our goal is not to generate layouts for now. So when you say generating, this part was not generated. If the layout is not generated, right? It's just a footprint that you can still work, that you need to still work on them and generate your actual design. And since EMI concerns are very tied to the layout, it won't be on our roadmap to be taking the full step of going into block diagrams and generating some schematics to go fully EMI. So we do know that it exists, but we do know that we can do some things to help reduce EMI problems. But as in terms of actually solving that problem for good, of course, that will be a very big extra step.
They really believe in a broader ecosystem. I don't see a possibility where one single company could have enough resources to build a platform that automates everything, all the way down to a production-ready layout. So we really believe in partnering with different companies like the EDA companies. There are other startups, for example, out there that work on automating layout or that go deeper into EMI. So that is more where we see an ecosystem play happening of us connecting to the different parts.
That's really a good point, Toby.
Way deeper.
Sorry to interrupt, but we have one final question that it's tackling just this. So Alfonso is asking, finally, not really a question, but if you at some point you want to get into custom magnetics, transformers, inductors, components for your design, we can talk about open magnetics.
That definitely makes sense. So we'll keep that in mind, and also, as always, feel free to reach out. We do keep a good overview of the ecosystem around us, and while not necessarily everything makes sense to do immediately or at the same time, we are definitely looking into that a lot. So always reach out to discuss it in detail.
Yeah, exactly. Just as a call to action to Alfonso, if you have a very specific use case where you see open magnetics could help us or could help you by integrating it on a platform or by any other means, just reach out and explain your use case, and we'll be happy to understand it better and actually do actionable steps into that direction.
Okay, super. So let's wait from some other questions if they're popping up in the chat, and then we can go through the conclusion. But while we're waiting from other questions, please feel free to join the webinar chat or the Q&A, asking Son one more questions. I have a question for Toby. So if you have a favorite project, let's say in the platform that you particularly care about or that you particularly like, and why?
That's a great question, actually. Especially, as you can imagine, we internally used the Design Assistant already for quite some time, and I've been playing around with it. So what I actually enjoyed doing a lot is to take some of the old projects that I had back then in that car project that I've been talking about at the beginning. And back then it was kind of common for us to either have whiteboard sketches or PowerPoint slides for a board that we're building before starting on it. So I did export PDFs out of those documents and threw them at the Design Assistant to see what happens. And I was quite shocked that some are pretty close to what we've done back then. Obviously, to the point of how far our journey goes to schematic and footprints. But that had been a pretty fun activity, just simply of how fast you can play through different things, how you can iterate on designs, experiment with different possibilities, and really get started with your project in as you've seen, in minutes. So I can actually say by now I have tried all of the boards we've built back then, and most work pretty well.
Okay, that's really, really interesting. Luis, what about you? We saw your sketches skills, but do you have perhaps a favorite project there in the platform?
Well, I do have many, and if you actually check the CELUS YouTube account, you will see that I have created many or some using the platform, and actually was able to go through the full process of actually building a PCB with it, and. So yes, I do. I really like, for example, Retro Game Console is a really nice project just because it's a game console and everybody can do it. But you will find a lot of fun projects in the platform and actually not just the fun project, but actually more professional projects from actual manufacturers that you can draw inspiration to. So that's the coolest part that I think about the platform, is that not only you can use it to as a very knowledgeable professional to find solutions, but you can actually use it as well as someone who wants to gain awareness of what's out there and what components can you use or what is best to perform certain function. So it's also a platform for learning, and that's the best part that I like about the platform, because I'm an electronic engineer myself, and I like to see that the world actually cares about electronics. So it is a win-win situation.
Okay, that's really, really cool. Great. So we're starting to go to the end of this webinar. We have just one last question from Ole. Are the footprints using the same design principle, silk screen on the same layers, etc.?
Yes. So we actually go to a lot, not a lot, but some quality control on our footprint. So you would expect that all of those footprints over there are consistent within themselves. I'm not saying this doesn't mean that you will find the footprints that the way you like it, but you will find them all to the same standard, right? So we work really hard to make our symbols and footprints the most neat or the most standardized as possible, so that you can actually start using them without having one created one way and another one created another way, so that we try to harmonize our symbols and footprints. So you should be able to see that once you download your projects.
Okay, super. Thanks a lot, Luis. So great. It was really, really super exciting for us to show you our design assistant and our latest feature. But we're really keen also to your feedback. So right now you can find in the chat, again, our Slack community. Feel free to join so we can have more feedback from you to improve our product, which is something that we're always seeking. And also the link directly for our CELUS platform. So thanks everyone for joining. It was a real pleasure to have you here, and see you at the next webinar.